Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone.
There you go.
Okay, consideration of the agenda, please.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda.
Extras here. That is Candy. Principal drop. Wait for you to get back. Three of us. Present, right?
Sure.
Here, it's fine. Okay. Yep.
Hi.
Okay. We needed a second on the consideration of the agenda.
Good. Okay.
Favor? Consideration of claims from March 31st, 25, April 11th, 25, consideration of minutes of March 10th, 5.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
And I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Public comment. Do we have public comment?
Yes.
Aye.
I don't know what your process is for public comment. I know you guys like to keep it brief, so I don't know if there's a 3-minute time limit.
We'd like to keep it around 3 minutes if we
Okay.
can, yes.
Well, I was former high school principal, so what I told the last group is I talk fast and I walk fast. So you gotta keep up with all those high school kids. So I'm Peter Fistero. I'm assistant superintendent at Kalispell Public School, and just wanted to come out and meet with you guys, and thank you for having us with public comment. I just talk a little bit about our upcoming levy, and why this levy matters. So just want to start it off and talk just a little bit just about myself. I spent 20 years at Flathead High School. I was the assistant principal and then the principal. And then I went to Flathead Valley Community College in 2017 for 5 years to oversee their trades program. And then I came back to the district 3 years ago. And the reason that I came back was because we were doing personalized competency-based education, our transformational initiative. And, one thing that I really value is, I value the trades. I value opportunities for every single one of our students. And I felt, this was the way to do it, to get our students outside of the four walls of the education system, because I was guilty of it as a principal. I was guilty of it as a parent, telling the kids, hey, you need to go to college, you need to go to college. And what I found out when I went to Flathead Valley Community College, I'd have a lot of students coming back from a 4-year institution, and they spent 2 years there, racked up debt. And I said, well, why did you go to college? Well, that's what everybody told us we needed to do. And then they come back with debt and said, now, I said, what are you doing here? And they said, well, we need to find a skill so we can go out and earn some money. And so that's why, one of our initiatives just really intrigues us is providing opportunities, not just, just for some students, but basically for all students, is so that they can explore it. So one thing that we've really been working on, and Jim Marion, one of our trustees, and Scott Warnell will connect this back to, why the levy matters, is the work-based learning that we do and getting kids out, and then our personalized competency-based education. One of the initiatives with personalized competency-based education is how do we get the kids, again, like work-based learning, to have voice and choice so that we're engaging them in their own education. So a perfect example of this would be being able to go out and explore something, whether it's in heavy equipment or whether it's going to, Jen has people at her law firm, and to be able to explore that so that they can see while they're still in high school what opportunities are out there instead of just trying to explore it once they're in college. So we've really worked hard on on trying to provide those opportunities for our students and trying to provide opportunities outside of the four walls. And that's just really become a huge push for our district. And I think it benefits, all students. And we've started it in K through 8, so that we call it extended classroom experiences, so that kids can go out into the community on extended classroom trips that ties back to the classroom, and then start exploring it in 8th grade, and then an opportunity to explore within the high school, so they're able to get out and do that. One of the things that we also know that we need to do is 60% of our students are made up from our partner schools. So that's at our high school. We have 3,000 students, and 60% of those come from our 13 outlying partner schools. I remember when I was principal, coming out here and doing registration and doing different things. Or it seems like every time that we have a levy, coming out and pitching that. And, one of the things that Superintendent Jensen said, we need to have more meaningful partnerships, because the high schools aren't just, for Kalispell proper. It makes up the entire valley of all of our 13 partner schools. So looking at some of the work that we're doing, we've reached out to all of our partner schools, doing Doris Mountain, so that we could bring people in from the ground floor to show them, hey, here's some of the things that we're doing. We want you to be a partner with us, on the ground floor. We're working on a curriculum summit this summer, and for math. So it's a cycle curriculum review. And, one thing we said is we need to reach out to our partner schools, those that are teaching algebra, or those, coming into our district, so that they could be on from the foundation, and not coming in and say, well, this is what Kalispell Schools does, is we want to be able to have a voice. So just trying to make, more of a partnership. But then the biggest thing for us being out here tonight is just trying to educate people is, what does this levy mean? And, for us, it's made up of our partner schools, and that's 60% of our students. So, we want to provide as much information. Like I said, I don't know what the makeup of your public comment is, but if you have any questions, that's one thing we're always willing to answer the tough questions. We've put together some packets that we have had with our levy facts, and we've pulled these out of all of our presentations. People will be asking us questions, and so then we would make sure we have them on our website. But we have a lot of information. You said keep it a short amount of time, so if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But I know Gina and Scott have a couple of things to say, so I'll be happy to field some afterwards too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions yet?
Hi, I'm Jen Merriman. I am a school board trustee for Kalispell Public Schools. I'm a mom. I'm a lawyer. I was born and raised over in Libby, and my husband has a brewery in Kalispell, so that's me. But I'm here because I want to talk to you all about the levy, and the levy that we're running for the entire valley. And we, in our school, our high schools, right? So we have kids all the way from Lakeside, all the way here to Marion, to from Kyla to Cayuse Prairie, West Valley, only Bissell. I mean, you look at the valley, basically you're either going to Libby High School and you're going to be a logger, right? Or you're going to go to Whitefish, Columbia Falls, or you're going to go to Big Fork, or you're coming to Flathead High Schools, right? And we've got Flathead Glacier, Linderman, and the Boag, which isn't an independent high school, but it's a program that any 3 of those high schools can participate in. We're running a levy. It's running on May 6th. In the handout that you've gotten, this is a PowerPoint presentation. These are the slides. What I wanted to talk to you all about was really the kind of the nuances of the levy. You all know how we're funded and the rules of within which we're funded. 80% from the state, 20% from our communities, 80% reading, writing, math, 20% for all the other things. So the things that Assistant Superintendent Sarah was talking about, those are levy funded programs. Our AGSAC levy funded, Linderman, large levy funding put into our Linderman alternative high school. All of our athletics activities, all of our work-based learning, so internships. I've had 6 interns at my law office, and like I was telling West Valley School Board, who we were meeting with before, 5 of the 6 still want to be a lawyer. 1 of them does not. I think they might be the smart one in the bunch, but anyway. Yeah, it's all of those things, and all of those things are what we are stand to lose in this levy. We have 21 full-time positions in our high school that will be cut. With that goes 100 course offerings. Those course offerings aren't reading, writing, math. Those are paid for by the state. These are our career technical. We've got auto shop classes, culinary classes, welding classes, vet bioscience classes. Brian Bay has provided a list of what's going to be cut at the Ag Center, if anybody would like to see this. To make sure there's no misunderstanding out there. No one program or one activity is going to be wholesale cut. It's not fair to look at one kid and say, gosh, your experience at the Ag Center isn't as valuable as your experience out there, right? Everybody will be proportionally cut. And so every levy program will be affected if this levy doesn't pass. That's what we're looking at. The thing to know, just to the extent you guys are talking to your families and your voters out here, we haven't passed a high school levy in 18 years. We're the lowest funded AA in the state. That's on page 8 of the handout, slide 22. You can see it's not even close. It's not like we're a scope shop. It's significant, especially when you multiply that delta over our student enrollment numbers. It's really significant. And people say, gosh, you know, you're a model of academic excellence. How have you been doing it without passing the levy? Why should we pass the levy if you guys can do this without it? What I will say is there's a few things that have allowed us to do that. You all are aware of one-time funding that has been available, ESSER funds that are no longer available. That helped bridge a gap. We had a $1.5 million savings that we used to bridge the gap. We've done that. And last year we had 4 high school teachers retire, resign, et cetera. We didn't fill those positions. So we've passively ripped positions. This year we have 21 active cuts. So that's where we are. You know, people say, gosh, you're real heavy in admin and, you know, admin gets paid so much. If you see that, you know, if you go to page 9, slide 25, that talks about the percentage of our funding going into admin. Elementary is green and silver on the side, but admin is orange in the middle. We use 52% of our budget for admin teachers, or not, sorry, for high school teachers. Whereas the other AAs only use 47%. Conversely, high school admin is only 5.7%. All the other AAs are 6.33. So we're investing the funds that we have in our teaching and instruction, not overfunding admin. I've talked to, gosh, I don't know, probably 35 different community groups about the levy. And I like to always say at the end, you know, please ask whatever questions you have or whatever heartburn you have or whatever you're hearing out there. I feel like I have heard almost everything, but maybe there's something I haven't heard. And I'm a big believer that it's not that our community doesn't support our schools or our students. I think it's that our communities don't necessarily understand how schools are funded and the rules we have to play within and what is actually levy funded. And then once people understand that, then it's a different conversation that we have, right? And on that front, you know, I'm a big believer the truth shall set you free. And you know, when you hear the rumblings about admin going around, I go, gosh, well, what's our data show us? Drill down, and I pointed you to the slide of what our data shows us. So you know, on the property tax front, people go, gosh, you know, there's houses everywhere, house values are going through the roof and, you know, you're flush with money. Actually, no, levies are a fixed amount and they stay a fixed amount over time. They don't even increase for inflation. So you pass $100 levy, you pass it in year 1, it's $100 in year 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, right? It's $100. You have 10 houses in year 1, they all pay $10. You got 20 houses in year 2, they each pay $5, right? It goes down. So the burden is spread amongst more taxpayers. So that's a big misnomer when people are looking at their tax bills and they say, gosh, where's all this money going? Well, it's going to Helena is where it's going. But the stuff that's going to your schools, you can actually track the line items and it's been going down. And I have greatly exceeded my 3 minutes of time. So that's like kindly showing me the phone that says 6 minutes. So I appreciate you guys giving me the double public comment time. But I would be happy to field any questions you have or any concerns you have or anything you're hearing in the community. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find it out and I'll get it for you. But I feel like I've heard almost everything. So anyway, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, my turn, and I promise I will not go probably in 3 minutes.
Let's find out.
As these guys have said, well, first off, I appreciate you letting us come and chat with you about this. Assistant Superintendent Facera was talking to you guys about you guys being our partner district, and it's truly we need to make sure that we are acting as partners, from your district to our district. And, one of the asks I'm gonna ask, and I don't know if you guys have done it yet, but Superintendent Jensen put together a letter to send out to parents, and we've sent it out to all of our parents. West Valley sent it out to their parents. The thing that, and the reason I'm asking you to send it to your parents is you guys will have students that are parents that don't have students in the high school yet, so they won't have the opportunity to see this. So if you guys can send it out, we truly would appreciate it. And it really talks about why it's important for the levy and what it's gonna affect and then help support. So with that, it's got two more.
Okay, I don't need one. We have like three.
It's just really important for us that we really act as partners, and because if your guys' district is doing good, that means our district is gonna do good. So with that, we just hope that you push the message out to support our levy. We are here to answer any questions, and if you have parents that ask you guys questions you don't know, please forward them on to us at School District 5, and we'll be more than happy
I
to
got my
answer
business card, so you guys can reach out.
questions. So
You did good.
Thanks.
Less than 2 minutes.
there you go.
Good job. Good job. There you go.
Does anybody have any questions for anybody?
Sorry.
You know, we have I know it's gonna be past the date on this, but to help expand the cohesiveness, we have a really huge Marion Freedom Day celebration out here. And we would love if there'd be a flathead, at least a flathead or even a Kalispell booth. Just so some of our young kids start seeing what a brave is, what a wolf pack is. Because a lot of them don't think that far out. So it'd be cool for them to start associating themselves with that and get to know you
I'm
guys.
familiar with some Flathead students, and I'll reach out to them and see if I can't get them to come out.
What's the date, Joey?
4th of July.
Yes. Send it.
To Sarah.
No, it's Peter dot. I got the card too. Oh, yeah.
I'm just gonna email you the link to sign up. So, your dot Sarah.
Yep.
SV5.baseball.
Yeah. Recommend telling parents of the children who are homeschoolers who won't benefit from the levy.
You know, Pete, you wanna, well, I'll jump. Let me.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
all right. So, I've actually had a lot of conversations with homeschool families, and I think there's been a lot of changes in the recent years and through the legislature that allow students to be involved in the schools in various capacities in various amount time increment. And what we're really seeing lately is, and I talk to a lot of homeschool families, it's really kind of educating on the opportunities within our schools. So with the adoption of 2 public charter schools within our Flathead and Glacier High School, kids can come in and take an intensive 2.5-week course and get their chemistry credit knocked out by basically taking a full day of chemistry classes. So we're following the UM Western scheduling model in that regard to help them knock those out. So you have a lot of homeschool parents who might be really strong on these subjects, but might be looking for something more hands-on or the ability to have a lab in these subjects. It allows them to do that. And it's obviously ultimately parental choice as to whether or not they want to homeschool or enroll in public schools or do a hybrid of the two. But there are a lot of things that are being offered to allow people to cater, kind of almost like a cafeteria plate, cater what they want to do. And we've been really happy to be able to partner with a lot of homeschool families.
I talked to a homeschool kid a couple days ago, and he said he was hoping to get into ag, but there was not enough room or something.
Yeah, so that I can share that with you. So with the levy, if the levy doesn't pass, we have to cut 2 of our 6 ag teachers out of the ag center. And with that are going to go about 9 course offerings, including an ag 1. Now we have 6 ag 1 classes, we'll go down to 5, have about 30 kids in that class. That means 30 less incoming freshmen get to start in that intro program into our ag center. So we're hoping we don't have to go down that road, but that's what it's looking like. Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you for the question. I appreciate it. Did I hit it, Peter?
You nailed it.
Okay, all right. Peter will tell me if I'm off base.
It's the same thing, but people who don't have children here, who moved in from other areas.
Yeah, that's a good question. And, you know, it's, when I talk to folks who have children from other areas, or they had their children elsewhere and then they moved here. I think what it's important to understand is there's kind of multiple aspects to it, but Pete talked on it a bit. We are focusing on trying to create an opportunity within the high schools, recognizing not all kids are going to go to college, and trying to make these kids career ready to join our workforce, whether that be on Main Street or in manufacturing plants, you name it, heavy machinery construction, welding, student built homes, all of that. So that what we're trying to provide in the high school experience makes us a stronger community right at the outset. So they walk across the graduation stage and they can go right into the workforce in a meaningful way. And so that's one of the pieces. The other piece is, I've heard Superintendent Jensen say it, you know, wherever your kids went to school, somebody helped pay for their educations.
Paying into a program that you've benefited from.
Yep, exactly. And maybe you've moved from elsewhere, but wherever you were, somebody did pay into that education system. And now, full disclosure, I got a second and a fourth grader. And so I do appreciate people supporting the students in the education system. But yeah, I also find it interesting, the only two taxes we get a vote on in Montana are schools and public safety. I don't get a vote on our roads or sidewalks or how much our commissioners get paid or how much our legislators get paid. And you know, it is what it is. Those are the laws that the school districts have to live within, and you all know it well. So, sorry, go ahead.
So I would be interested in a copy of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
I
I was gonna say,
have-
can you email it?
Yeah, sorry, I'm pinched in here. Maybe in another day I could have done that, but all right. I'm here and I'll get one to you guys so you can share it down.
I'd like to send it, if you sent me for the freedom group, I can give you a copy.
Yeah, so that's what's at stake at the Egg Center. And, you know, to be real candid, there has been rumors swirling that the whole Egg Center is going to shut down. No, that's not going to happen. We can't look at one kid and say your program's cut and another kid says yours survives, right? Everybody's going to be proportionally cut. So literally everything that's levy funded will be cut. Nothing will be wholesale cut, but everything will be reduced. So that's where we are. What other questions do you have? I've taken way too much of your time. So, but to echo what they said, we really appreciate the opportunity to be out here and to answer questions and help. And if you guys do have any questions that come up or any parent questions or community questions, feel free to email. I'll go ahead and get the data back to you or answer the question, do whatever I can. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have to stick around if you don't like it. You understand, you gotta drive back down the hill.
All that way. Goes down the hill.
You'd be surprised how many people say, oh, all the way out in Marion? Not one minute.
Have any experience with a 4-day week?
You have not done a 4-day week.
What is your experience with, you have half-day Wednesdays?
We do have half-day Wednesdays. Like from the parent perspective or the teacher perspective?
Yes.
I can give you the parent perspective. No, I mean, from the teacher perspective, we do our personalized competency-based education learning, which is the transformational learning type stuff that we're doing. That afternoon is devoted to like training and prep and collaboration for basically making those schedule plans. That's what that afternoon is used for. From a parent perspective, you know, I've found so long as it's regular, as with anything, you kind of just plan for it. And that's what we do. So my husband and I alternate who picks up the girls on Wednesdays, and they either hang out at the brewery with my husband or they come to my law office for the afternoon. And, you know, it's nice that we have employment situations that we're able to do that and recognize not everybody has that, but there are after-school programs within Kalispell proper through Kalispell Park and Rec that picks up kids on bus and takes them in the afternoon until 5:30. So that's available. It's a very low-cost program. On the 4-day front, I have friends who live out in Cayuse Prairie and they went 4-day. And kind of same deal. So long as it's consistent and scheduled, they plan for it. And I know usually, at least the folks that I know, there's one person in that family can either work 4 10s or has flexibility to work from home on a day like that. And so but not everybody has that luxury. And so having some sort of a community type program in place to grab those kids that might not have that. It would be, it's wonderful.
That'll be helpful later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And quick question, I'm curious, how much are your insurance rates going up?
Well.
Oh, sorry.
That's coming down at, actually, I didn't pay.
Oh, never mind, you haven't, it's okay, I'm sorry.
Stick
We just
around.
went through that, so
Where'd you guys go with?
we're self-insured.
Yeah, they're self-funded.
And so the ours went up 12.5% self-insured. And we just heard in West Valley, they were gonna go up 24% with Blue Cross Blue Shield, but then they're going with some sort of a trust.
Mhm.
And they're like 0.4%.
Like the consortium, that?
It's what's the name? They're-
Trust Alliance, Allegiance?
Yes,
The consortium, yeah.
yeah, and they didn't vote on which way they're gonna go, but those were kind of the two options, stay with Blue Cross Blue Shield and take a 25% rate hike. Or go with this Trust Alliance or something, and it basically stay about the same, slight reduction in certain things.
There's a guarantee not to go above 8.5%
Yeah.
the following year.
Yeah, so they're not gonna hike rates the following year, so a cap on 8.5. year. So, yeah,
Yeah. Not sure about,
I'm so sorry. We just had that difficult conversation on Tuesday. I might have to, I stick around, so. Yeah.
Okay.
We have a popcorn maker in there.
Oh, okay.
Do we have anything under discussion? Okay, moving right along, committee reports, PTO.
We have bingo this Friday from 6 to 8. When we have Mom's Day out coming up, we can find a few more venues for the event on May 3rd. Mom's Day out, so like a craft vendor fair on May 3rd, we do from 9 to 2. But we're looking for some more vendors to make it happen. Like I said, bingo's this Friday. It's for adults only, win fabulous prizes. And then right after Mom's Day out, we have Teacher Appreciation Week that we're gearing up for. So we've got some really busy weeks ahead of us for PTO. Teacher back. It's so me.
No, it's like.
She goes, what? I stayed for nothing.
I came all the way here for this.
It's a beautiful day.
I don't. I was gonna say, I heard from students that the field trip, the Folsom Food Museum went well. And then it's are coming up again. So all the students are excited and are already starting to make their potatoes. I didn't hear what.
Potato Olympics.
Yeah.
Potato Olympics.
Yes, they rep each potato, or each child is assigned a country. They have to research the country and then decorate their potato, and their potato does Olympic events like tossing and rolling and all that stuff.
What grades participate?
Fifth grade.
Oh, fifth grade.
It's pretty cute. The best part is the kids who decorate it like 3 weeks in advance because they're really excited. And by the time they get there, it's this shriveled little thing with like a feather sticking out of it.
Did you?
I don't have anything.
Okay.
Here to take notes.
Okay, that was short and sweet. Thank you. Clerk report.
I added something to it today because I got the balance from the interlocal fund just today, so I added that to the clerk report. Just let you know that check was returned. Now we have $12,000 in there. Budget versus actual, we're still doing really good. We're at 60%, actually 67 now. The payroll's done. And then Teresa and I are working diligently to stock up on supplies, so we can help counter the budget shortfall for the upcoming years. Official budget numbers are in, and we're seeing an $86,937.83 deficit from last year's budget or this year's budget. If we can qualify for stars, then we'll have a deficit of $38,512. I'm planning to meet with the MEU, I think Wednesday, to talk about the STARS Act, to see if we can qualify and get that money.
Is it hopeful?
I haven't talked to them at all, but the one thing that we need to think about is if we don't qualify, everybody else in the valley is signed their MOUs and they're doing it. So we will be the lowest paid teachers in the valley.
Ever.
So I don't know that we'll get quality applicants if we have to open positions. So just something to think about. The decision and the paperwork must be to OPI by May 15th. So it'll be on our next agenda. If the union approves it, then it'll be on our agenda to approve at our next board meeting. I'm working on I worked on spreadsheets. Those are attached in the upcoming 4-day plan, whatever, so you guys can see 4-day versus 5-day. We've spent almost all of our building reserve. We have $86 left. That was the asbestos abatement in the middle school, finishing up the modular building, the roof. There's something else I thought of today. I don't know. Oh, the heating in here.
That burned out, yeah.
Yeah. So it ate it all up. So we have $86. So with that being said, if there's anything that comes up next year, we don't have money for that. We are supposed to get our small money, school major maintenance aid money in May. I'm not sure exactly how much that is, but it'll be a little something. So that insurance broker finally came out, or got us some quotes, and so that's coming up on the agenda. We finally found something that's actually a real contender that can contend with must and be good. And then once again, if anybody finds a crystal ball, I would appreciate it. On this time of year.
Lottery ticket.
Gotta be a winning.
Oh, yeah, a winning lottery ticket. So,
Emphasis.
yeah. This is a stressful time of year for me, so.
Somebody in the community with a lot of money that wants to donate to it, right? Yeah. Okay, principal report?
Hello. So for our principal report, our student enrollment is at 136. The last month or the month before, we got a new student in 4th grade. My daughter was so excited because he's very nice, but also very disappointed because it's another boy. Now there are 2 girls and still a bunch of boys. Okay, for expanding learning opportunities, we are working on our IEFA totes. So IEFA is Indian Education for All totes. We call them totes, but they're the big Tupperware things from Costco. Bins, thank you. And each teacher chose a tribe to focus on and is creating a lesson plan across 3 different subject areas, or if they're in middle school, their subject areas for some grade bands to put inside a binder. And each year we'll rotate the bins. So within a few years, we'll have a big binder and books and artifacts and all sorts of stuff within each bin for each tribe that a teacher can check out and then do those lessons without having to come up with everything by themselves. It's provided and written and done, and they just pull it out and do it. So that's been really interesting. I've actually had a lot of teachers actually all of them have worked really hard to make them really valuable for the kids. And a lot of teachers have come to me with like, did you know this tribe did this? I didn't know that. And this dam over here and this. And so they kind of thought it was pretty cool. Earlier, we had the Iditarod program arranged by Mrs. Thompson in kindergarten, where our whole school got to choose a musher and track them through the Iditarod race. And they did statistics and tracking and distance to watch the race. And then eventually 3 students out of the whole school chose the correct musher and ended up winning t-shirts and a book. So the staff really liked it. They thought it was fun, and they're hoping to do it again next year.
Remind me next year, I'm Anchorage based, so maybe I can go do some FaceTime with the.
That'd be so cool. For enhanced support unit for students and staff, the Student Success Committee has worked hard all year to support teachers and students. The evaluation process has been slow for special education and limited this year, leaving many of our students on pause. But they've been advocating really hard to get them pushed through and get them the services that they need. School-wide Success Committee is planning on making small changes to the house system next year and emphasizing the importance of staff participation. They'd like to have a house activity at least once per quarter and have older students mentor younger students in some way. The Beautification Committee has many great plans to improve our campus once the weather turns. They're planning to use donated gravel to gravel the area by the new modular where the grass is and add a path to the ramp. They're also planning on pouring, hopefully, concrete to the new 7th grade doorway. They would also like to update the area in the library, which is on the other side of this wall, to get rid of the yellow paint and create more friendly seating for meetings and teacher groups and get-togethers. The Family Engagement Committee spoke at the staff meeting about the successes and struggles with the reading carnival they held earlier this month. Overall, it was a really great success. They also spoke about making it a little harder for the big kids to get tickets because they came with, got all the tickets because they were reading a lot. And then I have attached the 4-day school week research and documentation below. So for our survey, the question was asked, would you support a 4-day week at Marion School? 125 people voted. And if you see below, that's how it's broken down. 90.4% said yes, and 9.6% said no. 50.4% was made up of parents, 37% made of community members, and 12.6% was made up of staff. 3 of those community members were students who took it upon themselves to make sure they voted yes for 4-day schools. For curriculum, middle school is in the throes of researching curriculums for mathematics. They've narrowed it down to 4 or 5 and will present our choice once we finish through the process to make sure we pick one that we want. We'll present it to you guys as soon as we can. We are planning doing 2 split classes next year, so a 5th and 6th grade for a total of 27 students. And we're actually taking 1st grade and splitting it, so we'll have a K1 and a 1-2. Kindergarten, the 1st graders that will remain, there'll be 7 of them, along with whatever kindergarten received. And the 1-2 split will be around 19 students. This saves us money in the long run to save for future decline in budget. And teachers are excited or have volunteered to fill these roles. And then I have the important upcoming dates for the next month.
Anybody have any questions?
I actually have a question. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, so Julia, just point of clarification, please, on the slow evaluation process for special education. Is that on the part of the special ed co-op, or is that our internal special ed program?
That is on the part of the special or the cooperative, with only 1.5 school sites that are shared between all the schools. We only got through maybe half of the kids or less that we wanted to get identified. They're struggling to keep up with the workload and aren't unable to recruit more school sites. So a lot of our kids are just not getting through.
Okay, great. Are we still in compliance on all of our current IEP students as far as meetings and things?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have an assistant principal?
Yeah, that's attached. Is she on?
She is.
Becky.
If she's BSCHR.
There she is.
I am on.
All right, Becky.
All right. So March 12th, we had our staff meeting with Trevor from Olney Bissell. Trevor shared great information about how his 4-day school week ran, and our staff was mostly excited and wanted to pursue this 4-day school week. On March 19th, I went to another school for the YAM program, and I have to say our 8th graders are way more respectful. I'm not going to mention other schools. And March 20th, we did our first reading carnival. Everyone seemed to enjoy it. We will integrate more middle school games next year and yes, up the amount of time that they need to read per ticket. And then we had spring break and I went on vacation after that to Florida, which was great. And then I was homesick today. Yeah. In my opinion, the 4-day school week will benefit our teachers and students, and I was pleased with the amount of positive support our community provided for having a 4-day school week. With most of the rural schools in the Valley going to a 4-day, we have lots of support in how to work our curriculum in and on other aspects. Even at the meeting with Trevor, he stated that his teachers are way happier and that the students are doing fantastic. He stated that it was not a money-saving endeavor. However, Shannon rolled with that and ended up proving that a 4-day can save us money. Then again, I'm just homesick. So I'm on now. So if you're wondering where the idea of a 4-day school week came in, it was in one of our brainstorming sessions. Could a 4-day school week save us money? At first, the answer was no. However, other benefits came up for the session. We started a pros and cons list and then research and invited Trevor out. And the pros looked like they outweighed the cons and when the mass community and showed support. It looks like a great solution, and we just want to thank the school board for your support if we continue with this endeavor. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Doesn't
No.
sound like it. Thank you. Feel better.
All right. Thank you. I should be back tomorrow.
Okay, good. Okay, action items. Consideration of insurance for 25-26 school year.
So before we go into action items, I was asking the board that came here, because I was doing some research today on board meetings, and nobody does it like we do. Everybody else does have little variations of it, but they do a question and answer kind of thing first, then they do a motion, and then they do discussion, and then they do approve the different. So the board can ask questions about the topic under action. So that's how they do it. Smith Valley does it like we used to do it, and
Everybody does it different.
everybody does it differently, so.
So this is how we were supposed to be.
Right.
It's changing the rules, they keep changing the rules on us.
So I don't know if we want to continue doing this, or if it's easier to have a discussion beforehand, or, questions and answers, so that you know how to make a motion.
I think that makes a lot more sense.
Right.
The way we
To me it
used to
does.
do it.
To me it does too.
It does,
Okay, to me, we're doing it backwards.
right.
If we're allowed to do it, of course, it makes more sense to ask questions first and know what it is we're discussing. Maybe our Kalispell colleagues could chime in. What is the correct way to do it?
Well, I won't say it's the correct way, but it's the way we do it is usually staff does a little presentation on whatever topic they're doing. And then board has an opportunity to ask questions, clarifying questions, so that we really have a good understanding of what we're gonna make a motion on. Then we make a motion, have a second, and then we have further discussion amongst the board. And then we actually do on important topics, we'll do public comment. And then we vote.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Shannon, do you wanna, since you're the one that did all this lately, do you wanna kind of give us a quick rundown on it? Or Tammy, you gonna do it?
So we had an insurance broker that for the last few years has been trying to give us quotes on alternate options of insurance for the teachers. And she was always a day late and $1 short every single year. So she finally reached out to us with 4 or 5 choices. Had a meeting with Shannon and I, we scheduled a Zoom, got on the meeting to tell us that they had nothing. But she was still waiting for one more company. So a few weeks later, she says, we have another option for you guys. It is United Healthcare. And for the very first time in all the years I've been doing this with Shannon, it was finally a plan that was comparable to what we currently have at a cost savings to us. Everybody knows the budget is like this year. So we're looking at every single way we can save money, but not at the expense of the coverage that we offer to everyone. And this is the first time we've found that. It's United Healthcare. It would just be the healthcare portion that we would swap. And again, the insurance committee is going to make their recommendation tonight, but we would still keep our vision and our dental the way it is. It would just be a swap of the healthcare. Just comparison wise, our must premiums went up again this year. Our high deductible option with United Healthcare for an employee only would be $573 a month. The must, did that go up to $780 something a month? Was that what it was?
Well, once again, I brought the 24, you have the 25, 26. Oh, good, 710.
So yeah, the high deductible saving for employee went up to 710.
So they even have a plan that even has a better deductible than what Must offers, and that is still less expensive at $670 for the employee only. So we sat with the insurance committee and we talked about options, our opinion. Do I think it's 10 times better than Must? That's not what I'm saying. I think it's comparable with a lot of the things that they told Shannon and I. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. A lot of us have those watches that track everything. They have a way you can earn up to $1,000 back just by tracking your steps in order to stay healthy. They have kind of like what we have through our Aflac, which is a telehealth option. They had a huge,
For you and your spouse, not.
Yes.
Dependents, but for you and spouse.
and they also had a huge list, which I asked them to send us, but they didn't. A huge list of medications that are completely free. So it was very appealing. So we presented our case to the insurance committee. And I believe we will get their recommendation tonight, right?
They were in favor.
In favor?
Yeah, so I think the recommendation is to switch to United Healthcare.
United
from
Healthcare.
us For this year.
Does anybody have any questions about it? Staff questions?
That presentation that we sent out that has this on it, on the third or fourth page, there's a link and you can click on that link and look up all your doctors.
Picture everything in the network.
Yeah, I had Becky pull hers up and look. And she said all of her doctors are listed, and they said anybody in Logan Health is gonna be connected. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's Kalispell based, so she's looking to support people in Kalispell. So she's not like in Colorado, looking at Colorado plans, Colorado doctors. It's for this area, for Kalispell, so. Very nice.
Yep. So it was very nice to actually get that information in time this year, and it will actually help us this year.
And she even said she's buddies with Fabian, so.
Good job staying on it. That's awesome.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I will make a motion to change the insurance for the 25-26 school year to United Healthcare.
I'll second that. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Rob abstained. Okay, consideration of accepting letters of resignation from L. Conti and E. Curtis. Does anybody have any questions about this? You all got your packet emailed to you. Anybody else have any questions about it? Okay, we need a motion.
I will make a motion to accept the letters of resignation from L. Conti and E. Curtis.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we got Sherry in. Okay,
Yeah, I said aye.
consideration of 4-day school week.
So do we want to talk about this first?
Yeah, we will talk about it first. Okay, it's open for questions, comments.
Point to it.
Sure, I can do that. So the idea of a 4-day school week has kind of been kicked around for quite some time. In Marion School, I personally worked in a 4-day school week for a few years. And when we knew that our budget was going to take such a giant hit, we in the office, as well as Ms. Sharati, basically found every option we could think of to try to save money. And this was one of the things that we decided to look in to see if it was possible. Like Ms. Sharadi said, we started with contacting Trevor from Only Bissell, who has a 4-day school week, to ask pros, cons, if they like it. You know, how their students are doing primarily is the most important thing. What their draw is, we'll never be able to compete with pay from larger school districts, but they're, you know, is this enough of a perk that draws people in? And he said, yes, a lot of his staff will only work there because of that, which is neat. So we invited him to come and kind of, basically, I said I'd buy him the Qdoba burritos, as many as he wanted, if he'd be the pin cushion or, you know, pinata for our staff. And they asked a lot of great questions. And Miss Shannon, do you want to go over what your differences in the budget would look like, 5-day and 4-day, the differences?
The spreadsheet is daunting, I know. And I had to make 4 columns because one is with the stars and one is without the stars, because that makes a huge difference in the budget as well. There are things on there that are stagnant, you can't change, like salary schedules, our property insurance, our phone bill, that kind of stuff. The things that did change, are cleaning supplies. Like right now, our cleaning supplies budget, we have already spent like $18,000 in cleaning supplies. So if we cut by 1 day, how much could that save us? Again, crystal ball. So I'm spitballing. I'm guessing by how much we spend per month. That was a lot of math. And I did talk to Caleb, and he said, of course, his rate would go down. He asked what we were thinking, and I said, we've added this building like something per month. I said, if we just went back to what you were charging us before we got this building, would that be equivalent in your mind for cleaning time? And he's like, that's exactly what I was thinking. So it would just go down. So that saves us $4,000 a year. It means $250. Subs is really the big part. This year, we've already spent $18,000 in subs. That does also include Charlie, who's subbing for Chris. So that's kind of unusual, right? But it could happen. We could have a sub if Brenda, Wendy, if any of you take a leave of absence for some time, we'd have to have that money in there. Anyway, like I said, we've already spent $18,000. So subs are in different line items on this spreadsheet because it's by category, by kitchen, by middle school, or by teachers, Teresa, special ed has its own section. So it's split up amongst that. Again, all of the math to guesstimate the supply budget that would go down. And then if you go to the very bottom, line 171, which has our projected budgets. I'm sorry about that. Line 165, it's the contingency line. So that is, in each line item I put like bare minimum, right? Like what we have to pay for phone bill, what we have to pay for this, but there's always an instance that something could happen and we have to pay more for something. So this contingency line looks awesome. Like we have 114,000, but what happens if we get too many kids and we have to split classes again? One teacher will cost us $54,138.16 with their salary, their benefits, the work comp, classroom budget. That's how much that costs at a minimum if they're coming in at the bottom line. So that would afford us, we could replace 2 teachers. But if we had special needs kids that come in also that need one-on-one paras, that's going to suck that out of there too. So where it looks fantastic that we could have that much money, that money could be gone if the sewer breaks because we don't have money in our, what's that? Building reserve. Thank you. Yeah. So I feel like it's important to make sure those line items can stay as large as possible in case of emergencies and unforeseen situations. But I put them side by side so you can look side by side what things would look like. I know it's a lot.
So blue is with stars, correct?
Yes.
So for a 4-day school week, if we take stars, we'll be able to put $114,459 into savings. Without stars, $100,552. If we do a 5-day school week with stars, $74,382, and without stars, but 5-day, $59,892.
So without stars 5-day, we'd be able to afford one teacher and no other catastrophes.
can break.
And nothing can break. Yeah. 5-day with stars, still one teacher and a couple things can break. So
A little bit of some savings there.
does that make sense to everybody? Okay.
So also inside the 4-day versus 5-day link that's on our agenda, we have a copy of a sample schedule of an average 2nd grade day as well as an average middle school day. When I was creating those, I went over the 2nd grade one with Miss Knoll to see if it'd be reasonable, and I showed some middle school, but them knowing that it's completely made up by me in conjecture to see if we would have the appropriate amount of minutes for accreditation, because middle school, unlike elementary, has a certain amount of minutes you have to have in certain subjects for those kids. So would this schedule work? Does it mean that it's the one that they're going to choose to do as far as how the day is broken up? No, but I just wanted to make sure it was possible. So that is not by any means what's going to happen, because I will leave it to the people who know far more about middle school scheduling than I do myself. But I just wanted to make sure the minutes were accurate. There also is some copies of potential school calendars, as well as some weigh-in from local school districts on their pros and cons about the 4-day school, their experience that they've had.
Anybody have any questions?
Yes. What outcome do you want tonight? Like, if you were to make the motion on behalf of the board, what would it be?
Well, that's a very difficult question because I'm not on the board. To be honest, I don't feel I can accurately answer that question because my time has been putting together all of the sample materials and haven't had a lot of time to talk to constituents out in the community other than the survey.
Okay, that's where it's
Yeah.
going. Start. I talked to Trevor today and Amy.
Mhm.
Amy thinks that we're okay with our timeline. Trevor does not. Trevor said pump the brakes. In our survey, when we spoke on the phone, we talked about, I said, I don't know how to vote because it says, do you support a 4-day week? And it's like, I don't have any data. I don't know if I check yes or check no. And your response was, this is to find interest. And then Shannon had a post, and what Shannon says is gospel, by the way. She's the best clerk ever. Shannon posted on Facebook and it said, this is just to see interest. So I am concerned on our survey that we put out, support versus interest. Like, how many people were, I don't want to maybe misunderstood the reason behind the survey versus that they supported without having any details. If I were to make a motion tonight, it would be, this is something that I'm interested in, it's something that I want to see, but it's also something that we need to continue to explore. And we need to be having stakeholder meetings. We need to be having staff meetings with all of our teachers so that they can have input and they can go through the data that you guys have put together is absolutely amazing. And I'm thankful for that, because now I think you have something to present to your staff. You have something to present to the community. But for us to say tonight that we are going to a 4-day week next week or next year, I think is premature. can we get it done in that time frame? It's going to be really tight, especially with collective bargaining with the teachers. Is it possible? Yes, you're motivated and you know, I think you may be able to get it done, but I just think we need to use caution because this, Deb Silk wrote an email today. She called this I don't know if I still have it open. She called this a mega issue. And she said on these mega issues, she says, we always encourage our members to approach this using a knowledge-based decision-making process aligned with district strategic plan by starting with an open-ended, and I can email this to you guys. But she goes through some planning ideas and processes that she said it may not always, if we start by saying we're going to a 4-day week, that's where all of our focus is, where she also said there's hybrids too, like we talked about with the half-day Wednesdays and the hybrids that sometimes work better for a district. Trevor guesstimated that their free and reduced numbers for Bissell were, I think he told me 30-40%. We are roughly 63 based on what I checked today. And Cayuse is, Amy's numbers were like 20, but she said with the new system it's 16. So we have 2 to 3 times more free and reduced kids than the other schools that we're talking about. So I have a friend that sits on the board, 2 boards, and one school they did and one school they didn't. And I talked to him about it. And he said the 4-day week is an advantage to the advantaged and a disadvantage to the disadvantaged. And so we need to, and his concerns were nutrition, supervision. I lost my notes in a windstorm today. Seriously, I had a whole page. Those are things that we need to be considering, in my opinion, before we say this is what we're going to do. You know, how are we gonna, Trevor's meeting talked about stuff in backpacks, you know, and we need to be stuffing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you know, if we're gonna be sending food home with kids. And I don't want our community to feel misled by our survey or our staff. There also wasn't a deadline on the survey. And I don't want the excuse. I know how I'm a pilot. We're all the same. There wasn't a deadline. I didn't know. I assume teachers are probably the same. We didn't know there was, you know, when I feel like we have data now that we can start presenting. We have schedules, we have budgets. But I think we need to be having stakeholder meetings, staff meetings, and having these discussions so that there's buy-in from our staff, there's buy-in from our community, so that we don't get the backlash. Because ultimately it's the board's decision, and we're going to be the ones that hear about it if we rush it and make mistakes. That's my 2 cents.
How much more information do you think we might get in if we wait? I don't know, a month, 2 months? Well, if we wait a month longer, then that's gonna hold up our negotiation. I'm not trying to be
It will.
putting pressure. I'm just to get with a timeline where we know we've got end of the year things that need to get done. So we need to find out if there's going to be a lot more info coming in. And as far as the community, they're not gonna come in. We might get some parents come in.
So, and Trevor mentioned that too. You have to give them the opportunity. And I'm not saying that we have to push this into next year. I'm saying we need to make an opportunity for the community to speak up. If nobody shows up, that's fine. We gave them that opportunity to come and speak. And that way, when they come to complain next year, when it's not working out for their family or their situation, we can say, you know, for the steps that we took to the community. We started this process late. I'm sorry, but Amy started it in January and it was a rush for them. We started, at least our least it came to the board in March, but the other big concern I have is with the staff. And I think there have been individual conversations as far as, game plans, but I think as a staff, they need to sit down and say, this looks okay. Have you considered this? This might be a problem, because we're running something completely different. And the CBA, that's something that I listened to Trevor again today, his presentation, and the CBA is going to be more difficult this year because of that. Got to go through it with a fine tooth comb. I should say we, I'm not on the committee, but you, them, need to go through it because a lot of that is going to change. So there is a time crunch. We did it to ourselves. We need to figure out if that's going to fit in the time we have left or not.
And Rob, and all of you, I guess I would just add, I guess I was unclear when I saw this agenda item, the way I read it, and just not having any background that all this had been done behind the scenes that we maybe weren't aware was going on, like the staff voting. We didn't know that was happening. So it's good to know that, that they're, that they've been included in these discussions, which it is something we didn't know. But I guess when I saw this item, in my mind, I thought, well, maybe we're just voting whether or not to start the process of looking at the 4-day week in more those steps that we had talked about would need to happen rather than voting tonight, yes or no on a 4-day week. So I'm kind of where Rob is and questioning, like, it doesn't mean we can't do it this year. I personally see a lot of advantages to doing a 4-day week. I was here when Trevor spoke. But I agree. We need to, even if they don't show up, do something where we can try to get more community input, answer questions, make everyone feel like they at least had the opportunity to say more than yes or no. Right. That's kind of what I'm hoping we can work out.
I've said I kind of support position just in the fact that even though I've seen a schedule and I've seen a few things and I've talked to people kind of on the fly, I've also had people come to me and say, well, what would this look like? And I couldn't really answer them. Like, I don't know exactly when we're talking about proposing the day to start and end. I don't know exactly how many days we're, because I don't have that information. I've seen the schedule, the middle school schedule, the proposed one, and kind of what that was. I don't have a copy of it, and so I said, this is what I was shown at one point, but I didn't know if that was what was decided upon, because when Julia showed me, she said, this is just one way it could look, you know what I mean? And I think that those are legitimate concerns. I think people voted that were interested, but I don't know that and people that are aware of how schools work, that there are still a finite number of hours that you have to meet, and you have to meet those within this time. So something's going to have to give. If you're going to lose on a Friday, then you're going to go longer, or you're going to have more days, or you're going to do something. And I feel like that information probably needs to be out there, because you can't make an informed choice if you don't know what your choice is. And that's what the people have asked me. Well, what does that mean for this? And I'm like, well, I'm not sure. We haven't. I guess my thought process was that we were going to have some more meetings or some more information saying these are the two proposals, or this is what it might look like, or something. And then I can say, I know I'm as old as dirt and I've been here forever, but I have legitimate concerns about how I'm going to get the same amount of curriculum done with a middle school schedule that's departmentalized without an extra day. So that's my concern.
So maybe I'll lay out,
Another question.
oh, please go for it.
I kind of feel like that in a way. So for me, when the meeting with Trevor happened, it was kind of and see what you can do. And then, the teachers that were there got to kind of say and have their piece, which I get it. Like, if you're there, you're there, you're not. But kind of with that, it was kind of like, oh, we're information seeking right now. So it's not as important for me to be there. And so if we know it's an important meeting or having some important discussions, then I'm going to make a point to be there, because in some discussions that we've had, we've realized there's some stuff in our contract that's going to change. And how is that going to look, and what is it going to look like? Because it's in our contract and it needs to be negotiated. We are barking down the tree of negotiations with a very short window of time. And
all of the stuff that's gonna change. And you guys are wanting the contract done. So it's going to take time. And I don't feel like we as teachers have enough information and have not sat down together to get enough information. Yes, Trevor King, that's one school. We have, there's Cayuse in our valley, but there's other schools across the state that have done it. I think we need to find a school that looks like us. Cayuse does not look like us. By far, even Only Bissell does not look like us. Yeah, they're a rural school, but their population is completely different than ours. It is a concern. Childcare is a concern. Not everybody out here has a parent that stays home. We have often parents that work 2 jobs or 3 jobs. And I know that's maybe not a concern of ours, but we need to be in this for the kids. And we need to be in this for what our parents and our community think. And I feel that as a teacher, sometimes you go, oh, good, an extra day off, a mental break, I don't think that we're approaching that the right way in that aspect. Busing is a concern. I think that these little kids, if we extend our day, we now have kids that are getting on the bus earlier and kids that are getting off the bus later. And we've got littles, and that is a concern too. So I think there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle that have not been explored enough or talked about enough so that we can get inputs like we were hearing earlier. There's questions that we have that maybe haven't been thought of yet. And I think we need to give that opportunity to people to come in and to get those questions and for us to find those answers.
So just
Can I speak for a second?
And I would like a turn as well. This is Miss Tice.
So when we were out, when we had Trevor come out, he said that this was actually our best option, was to say, yes, are we looking at it, or no? Because if you get too many cooks in the kitchen, then it becomes a big thing. And then it's just to get an interest or to see if this is what we want to do. And when we put it out there, our numbers were huge. Our staff, we sat at that meeting, and most of you that weren't there were on Zoom. So, and we talked about it, and it was an overwhelming, yes, let's move forward. And it was an overwhelming for next year. So the teachers knew that it was for next year. The parents pretty much seemed like they knew it was for next year. As I've been talking to people in the community, they're like, what would it look like? We said, yeah, you're going to either go longer days or you're going to do longer days and more hours. But it does look like it would be 15 minutes at the beginning, 15 minutes at the end, and then more days tacked on. And it seems like it's been overly positive, even with people on Facebook doing anonymous, I don't know who did it, and asked, what did you think about it? It was still hugely supported.
Yes, and I am very ingrained into the community with my kids playing, my kids being in the school there. And I've talked to many community members and many teachers at the school, and they've all had a positive, this would be great for our community. But not only that, I've started doing research last year when I brought it up with Teresa. We were talking about in the office, like a lot of rural schools are doing this. To try and get teachers to just stay at the schools because we cannot be competitive enough financially. And when I went and did the research, I found testing scores are higher, attendance is higher. The teachers enjoy being there longer. They're not as tired or exhausted or burnt out. And when we did meet, the school voted who was there, and I believe most of the teachers were there and they voted yes. So I'm on the negotiation teams, and I am 100% ready to go forward. I mean, if we want to meet with the community, I'm with most everybody sitting there. I doubt a lot of people are going to show up, but we can meet whenever you want to meet, and then let's move forward because it really does sound like something that our community wants.
Wendy?
Okay, I personally disagree with some of this in the fact that I think that when we surveyed staff and when we surveyed community, I think we need to be more open about what the scenario is going to look like. including at least on the upper end, you're talking about a 4-day week, which if you look at the research of other schools in the upper end, not looking at elementary, but you look at middle school and high school, most high schools have not taken this option because there's not enough academic hours. In the middle school, it causes a problem in that the burden of the homework is on the day that's off. And for schools that have high numbers of title needs kids, again, you're talking about the burden of education being in the form of homework on their own and a lot of unsupported scenarios at home. And I don't know that that was made clear in the survey. Are you interested in a 4-day week with the homework load being continuing through the weekend, through the Friday and the weekend? Additionally, on our end, or at least in my end, if I was going to do a 4-day week, I've got to give someplace. That means field trips, things like that. I'm just not going to have the days to get through my curriculum if I have a 4-day week and then I'm missing days on top of that for special events. And I think if we're going to be fair to everybody, you should have a more clear option. Okay, we're going to do a 4-day week, but this means that you may lose field trips. You may have more of a homework load. You may have more work to do just to keep on top of the curriculum versus do you want a 5-day and keep things the way they are? I think when you just say, would you be interested in a 4-day? That's not necessarily clear. And when I looked at the research, I actually found something that was a little bit different. It said that there was really not much of a difference in a lot of areas between a 4-day and a 5-day. However, where they do see a difference is the long-term growth of students, because missing those extra days the first year doesn't show anything. The second year doesn't show anything. But by year 7 and 8, there is a significant loss of education in the long run. And that's what I looked at from several educational sites when I looked at it. So I guess I feel like there is some interest. I think I'm willing to explore some things, but I think we need to be honest about what that picture looks like, because it's going to be different. You can't lose a whole day, especially on the top end, without it looking a lot different. You have to make that up. And 10 minutes for each class is not going to make it up. If I have 120 math lessons that I absolutely have to get through, how do I do that if I'm short days? I mean, it's going to have to come in somewhere. And I'm just not sure that parents understand that piece. So I feel like we need to be more specific about really what it would look like so people can make a choice.
So before the comments continue, I think that one piece that's missing here is the order in which this stuff goes. So this was kind of a group brainchild that's been around for a long time that we all, so it wasn't necessarily me bringing it forward or Becky or anybody. We just all decided, hey, this is something that might help us because we're coming up against a really big drop in financial support from where we normally get finances from. So the way I saw it, come correct or not, was modeled after how Cascade did it. And that's because that's the only experience that I have. And what Cascade did is they did exactly what we did. They took an interest survey. Then the board approved, yes, we would like to do a 4-day. And it was just in that simple 4-day. It wasn't a specific thing, because then that's when all the work started of getting together with teachers and stakeholders and what day, and okay, do we want a longer school year or a longer school day? Where's the happy medium? Where do we want to go? So all of that planning and involvement and all that stuff is completely 100% necessary. I agree with all of you because it's a life change for a lot of people. So I think that all of the work has to continue and has to do, like you all are saying, is completely correct. It just was done in a different order. And the reason Cascade did that, and I know this because my dad was on the board, the reason they did that was because people don't do well with 100 different variables. They like for example, the group of teachers to get together and make two options. This is what it looks like, the pros and cons. Cascade, there were no field trips unless it was on Friday. They would do a Friday field trip club if the teacher wanted to do that. They would do a stipend if a teacher wanted to do a field trip for their class on that day, so that it wasn't taking up time unless it was a directly instructional field trip. It had to be like very in like a science field trip or something like that. But their reasoning was, we get together, we do all the pros and cons, we do the big work. Well, this doesn't work with the teachers and this doesn't work with this. And we come together and build two structures of all of the things. And then you have the community come in and look at to these pros and cons. You kind of pick them apart, because then there's not 100,000 different directions you can go. You can pick apart and improve the two that you have and have them vote on which one they like. And that seemed to get, Cascade is the most crazy community. Nobody gets along. So it's always a huge process no matter what you do. So then they decided, yes, we like these two things. And that's the model I was going after. It may not be the correct one for Marion, and I'm fine either way. I guess my biggest concern most definitely is not an extra day off for the teachers or an extra day off for the kids. It's how do we keep these amazing instructors that we have now, give them raises, and we need to give them raises and have cushion for if something breaks down. We can keep the kids warm, or we can hire a teacher if we get more kids, because unfortunately this isn't going to be our lowest year. Next year could be much worse. And that's honestly my biggest thing. I'm sure that these teachers could care less about an extra day off and care more about the kids. And I'm just trying to find a solution to that problem. Whatever the board decides, there's gonna be no animosity. It was just an option for you guys.
I can speak to that about the budget. I think I've talked about it before, but we are on a 3-year average for our A and B. So our big year is going to fall off, and next year our budget is going to drop. We're looking at probably at least 20 kids, because we're at 165 or 163, our A and B for this year's budget. And we're nowhere near 163. Like, we're at 139 this year. We were at 100. Do you remember?
880.
The year before, yeah, we got up to 183.
Last year?
No, the year before,
The year before. So that's gonna, yeah. So last year, but we were at what?
like 160 something,
Yeah.
165-ish.
Yeah.
So it's gonna drop. It's gonna keep going. It's going to keep going down because those big years are going to fall off. Yeah, and I was watching Smith Valley today, and they were talking about the same thing. They're having the same problems. Basically.
I'm hearing a lot of concern about the families, and I get, like with the, do they understand how the, the homework and the curriculum and all that is going to work? I can't speak to that at all. But as far as the parents understanding that, that there's going to be another day in the week now that they have to figure out who's going to watch their children, they get that. And I had phone calls, not a ton, but I had several phone calls when the survey went out. Parents were calling and kind of wanting to know, so what could that look like? And I said, nothing is, decided yet at all, but it would probably mean that we're going to have a longer school day and an extended school year. And whether that goes farther into June or back into August, whether it's earlier or later in the day, I don't know. But those are the things you can pretty much bet on. Longer days, longer school year. So the parents that wanted to know details took the time to call and ask me, and they had time to do that. And, and the parents that didn't call, I don't know if they don't, they're like, whatever, maybe they already know, or they have their own preconceived notions of what it's going to look like. But at any rate, I believe that by and large, our parents kind of do know what it would mean. And we have to let them sort of speak for themselves,
I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah.
I think that I'm not against the 4 day. I'm not like you said, I just think what we're asking is that we get more time. And that there's a little bit more time in this so that we can work out some of those wonky kinks that may happen. And I know that deadlines are great to have. I think that that's not a problem at all. I just think that we need more time to be able to look at what everything's going to look like and get every little piece that we possibly can in there to present those two options of the 4 days that are there. And
Is
to
this
be-
the two that you're referring to? The two, the scenario one, scenario two?
Those are the two calendar options that Teresa put together, one with the Monday off, one with the Friday off. Not one, I think this is an idea.
The other thing.
Just a
Mhm.
random, idea, just a.
The AD meeting is tomorrow. Sports may look completely different, so that's something, games may be moved to Mondays for us, just to keep that in the back of everybody's.
Julia, I'm glad you brought up the fact that the legwork is not done. In fact, if we move forward, I think it's just getting started. I really do. It's things like that. They're talking about moving games to Mondays and Tuesdays, was it?
Mondays and Wednesdays.
The most, looking at the little things, like most schools do Friday off. We've talked about Monday because most schools do. My friend that I talked to over in Shelby said, if you're gonna keep up with the Joneses, he said, be the Joneses. So don't try and do something different, because eventually games and things are gonna start happening on Friday, or I don't know. People plan for that Friday. Now we're the Monday ones, and doctors close their doors on Monday because everybody comes in on Friday. So his thing was try to go with what the other schools are doing as far as picking your day. We can, and this is the fine details I think we need to iron out maybe later, but it's the kind of stuff that we need to consider. We can change the holidays, President's Day, whatever. We can say we're coming in on President's Day. That's so. Sorry, I had a long.
Sorry, I was gonna add to that what you were saying, Rob, about the Mondays. I know when Trevor was talking about how they do it, they have their Fridays off, but there are some Fridays they do attend school, and that's if a federal holiday falls on a Monday. So they just shift on those weeks. They go Tuesday through Friday. So that's an option as well. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? Like no Mondays or no Fridays ever, we can work around that. And as I put in the chat, if you're not on Zoom, you can't see it. One of the pros that I do like about it is the opportunity to have more sustained PIR opportunities on those Fridays, not every Friday, but whether it's once or twice, once a month for a full day or twice a month for half a day or however that would look. So.
Also, several doctors' offices are actually closed on Friday, and that's why we were looking at Mondays, because the doctor's offices, they take Fridays off, or dentists, so we were hoping that would help with subs as well.
When I attended the principal meetings this summer with Julia, I went to the rural teacher or the rural admin ones, and a lot of our, at least I know on like the east side more because they have a lot more rural schools, are going to these 4 days. And when they talked about it, I asked them how did their teachers take it? And they said, well, some of the teachers were upset at first because they couldn't think they could get all the curriculum in. And they said that the main thing is that their schools have just cut out the fluff. They've had to just focus on the hard stuff. And high schools are doing it on the other side. I know Havre is a full 4 day. I know the other smaller ones that are having trouble bringing in teachers are 4 days, and they have no school on Fridays. So they do like games and other stuff on that day, but that doesn't really affect us because we're with other schools that are doing the 4 day and for our rural ones. So we kind of have to meet with their games. That is what I know.
Those are great points, Becky and Katie, both. On our side of the state, another thing we might want to think about is there's a possibility to do a modified calendar that's not straight 4 or 5, like Plains School District for years and years and years now has done a 5-day school week for the first part of the year, and then the last about third of the year, because they do trimesters, they go to 4 days. And that's because of sports seasons, farming, and ranching families, things like that. And they really, really like it. So, and it doesn't really extend their year that much because they've got all those 5-day weeks in there, and they don't lengthen their day for those 4-day weeks at the end. They just use the same schedule, but they cut to 4 days. So something just to think about.
I think that, there, everyone in this room just wants what's best for the kids and the teachers and the families, regardless of where your opinion lies. Like, no one's here just to be a stinker. Like, that's everyone's heart's in the right place. All I can say for myself is, I will support whatever is decided. It doesn't necessarily change my job as much because I still have to do a schedule and we still have to meet and do all the things as far as that side. But I'm really worried about our budget. That's my biggest scary thing, because I know that each person that we have to cut or cut back on is affecting their family. And so I look at those numbers and I go, we're getting closer to affecting someone's family. And yes, the students' families with the day off. I guess I don't want to sound cold to that, but I worked at a community that made this shift and they did do like a Friday care for it. They had 25 kids the first week. I think it was 15 kids the next week, and they're the same size as we would be if we kept our kids through high school. And then within the first 6 weeks, there was no one, and they never have, in the last 7 years, they've never had interest in it because it was just harder for the parents anyway, because there's no busing. So it was just, they're like, whatever, it's easier to drive out
That
kids.
matches Trevor's thing too. He said by November,
They're just done.
You know,
So I just want, my biggest concern in this is we have to find a way to save money to keep the people here that are doing the awesome work that they're doing. And that was my goal with this, is to protect people's jobs. And I'm a little nervous about
where
any direction we go, to be honest.
I agree. I'm nervous either way. In regards to my friend Roy, who's on 2 boards, he said you're not going to save any money. Trevor said you're not going to save any money. Amy said you're not going to save any money. I guess
And it doesn't work for them.
we're magical.
They don't have that.
I think it would be your classifieds that are gonna save you money, not your certifieds, because your certifieds
Yeah.
are at a set amount, whereas your classifieds, unless you pay them more,
Mhm.
I mean, their job is the one that is getting cut right now.
And I did the math on that, and anybody that came and asked, I showed them, they're all about $1,000 difference for a year.
For the whole year.
For the
I mean,
whole year.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
they're the ones that are going to be affected. That's where you're saving your money.
Well, that, and you're gonna be saving, I mean, yes, I am nickel and diming it because I'm nervous about what's gonna happen if we don't.
Well, and it's like, can we, I mean, I
What's
know.
the
you're
biggest saving?
Subs.
The biggest saving is subs.
If you have
Second.
that, if you have that weekday off every week, that's when teachers can schedule their doctor appointments, their dentist appointments, and then we don't have
Parents
to.
as well. Parents can
Yeah.
schedule them as well.
Same,
On those
so.
days.
Especially as a parent who has a kid in orthodontia right now, I can't tell you how many appointments. I'm like, what's your latest appointment? So I don't pull them out of school
Kids
again.
miss a lot of school.
Wendy?
Can I ask a question about that? Because I'm a little confused. So according to our contract, we get paid for those days even if we don't take them. So how does that save us on a 4-day week?
So you don't get paid for all of them. You have so many discretionary days and you can cash out.
I know, I mean, we get paid for them because they
You
roll
still get
over
paid.
into our bank.
So that is your salaries don't change. Your salary doesn't change. If you take a day off, you don't get $112 more. You still have that same.
That's not my question. So each certified person gets paid, whether it's this year or when they retire, you
Right.
get paid for those sub days,
Mhm.
whether you take them or not.
But if,
So how
if
does
you
that?
don't take them, we don't have to pay a sub on top of it.
But how can
If you
we
take the
have
day off, you're still getting paid, so is the sub.
our days for other non, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Right, and I'm.
Does that make sense, Wendy?
So some of them, like, we had maybe a lot more sick people this
Mhm.
year. Whereas last year, maybe it was because I'm taking a vacation or, I mean, I
And I'm
don't,
still
I just don't,
budgeting.
I don't know how you could budget that and try to guess it's, I'm just being devil's
Right.
advocate here on that.
So I ran
For that.
years of reports to see what we paid in subs for years and kind of did an average.
Okay,
Because some years we had maternity leave, some years we have sickness, some years people go on vacation, some years people don't leave. They stay here all year. So I kind of did an average of that. And then like I said, crystal ball, I'm gonna spitballing and hoping that with one day off, the parents will make the appointments for the kids, so the kids will be here, not leaving for appointments. Staff can make appointments for that day, so the staff will be here. So we will have less subs in the building. And when you leave, you get paid out 25% of that dollar amount.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I was like, either
So,
way,
if-
my sick day monies are either going to pay for my sub
Mhm.
or they pay for me, but either way, it's still that many days at that much money.
But I know that I have the retirement thing was supposed to be done by such days, so we know nobody's retiring next year, so I'm not paying anybody out. So for next year, I'm budgeting that way. So next year, when it comes to whatever the date is, you need to tell us you're retiring, then we can say, okay, we have to pay that out, and it's at 25% according to the whatever thing in the MEO.
So we're hopeful that we'll save money on subs, but we don't really know or can't require.
May I interrupt for a moment? Sorry. Sherry just wanted to let you guys know she's sorry, but she has to get back to the hospital now. She said her preference would be to table this and have a special meeting in a couple of weeks, during which time we scramble to try to get more community input and get everyone's questions answered.
Yeah, it's totally crystal balling it by looking at years of data and guessing. But we know that if you're here 5 days, that
26 including
people
me.
will have to take time off for doctor's appointments. We just know that because we're out here, it's half an hour down. So you'd have to take an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, half a day, whatever. There's no option. If we went to a 4-day, there's an option for the parents to make appointments. There's options for you guys to make appointments.
Which we all love, and then get that phone call like I did today. I'm sorry. What's wrong with the doctor? It's that day.
Don't you love how you have to keep your appointment, but they don't have to keep their side? Like, thank you.
So
Rob,
here-
can I
here's,
ask you a question though, real quick?
yes,
You're concerned just because we have such a high number of the reduced and free lunches. That was actually something Teresa and I talked about when Trevor came out. She just can request from the food bank a certain number of boxes. So if that
Yeah.
means she requests more boxes,
and you-
they will go home with food. That's a huge concern of mine as well. She can request that they get 4 days worth of food. It doesn't matter in that sense. It's
nutrition is a part of the 4 things I wrote down, and I could see the first 2, is supervision and nutrition. We can help with nutrition. We can't help with supervision. If we take away that day, it's out of our control.
Right.
It is a concern for me. Our family is gonna make hay with this. We're gonna go on trips and stuff. We're gonna love it. There are families. One of the bus drivers went at Cayuse, asked the kids, "Oh, you went to a 4-day week. How do you like it?" One kid's like, "Oh, I love it. I hate school. I'm only there 4 days a week." One was like, "Now I have to spend more time with my mom." And it's like, there's a story behind that. And
We can't fix that. Rob.
exactly, we can't fix it.
Can't fix every kid's problem.
But,
We should.
but
Yeah.
school is a safe place for some kids, and we need to consider that. And one other thing I wanted to mention, like, we talked about staff voting. There was 17 people voted. There's 26. Like, that concerns me. I think you should get a mandatory number. Find those 9 people.
So we did 2. So we did one was it last year or the year before? And then they did one during the meeting that when Trevor came. So there were 2.
Oh,
And our middle school has been against it from the start because they are very concerned with the quality of education in middle school, and rightfully so.
2 of the middle school teachers,
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Just
But
2,
just mean to
because
their credit, because
Yeah.
they're being taught for what they. Yes. Well, and I just mean, that they're looking out for their kids and what, they want to see if this is going to happen, that it is done well for the kids. And that's exactly what they should be doing.
this benefits staff the most. And I'm sorry, you guys should be totally fighting for this because you benefit.
I disagree. And I disagree. I mean, I have kids who work so hard. This benefits students. They are so for not having to be in that school 9 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then still going home with homework.
I'm
So
not
at
saying
least
it
this
doesn't
gives them
benefit.
an extra day to do homework.
Let me
is where I look
rephrase
at
that. It also benefit, in my opinion, this is just an opinion, it benefits staff the most. Students, can gain from that as well. The thing that we need to remember as a board is this decision is irreversible.
Why?
We will never be able to bargain back to make them work another day. Hey, guys, we're gonna, it's true. If we
No,
give you guys.
I believe it. I love
You've
it.
done enough marketing, and that's what my buddy on the board said. So we need to look at this decision as irreversible. Because the staff is gonna love it. I think they will, most of them. Anyway. I agree with Sherry. I think that we can shorten that time frame to accommodate everybody's needs. There needs to be stakeholder meetings and there needs to be staff meetings, in my opinion.
Wendy?
And if we're moving this direction, I guess I would prefer to do something like what Kalispell's doing. Let's just see how that goes.
Which is what, like the
Modified.
Yeah, every Wednesday is half day or whatever, and let's just see how that goes. That would be a good judge to see how it affects academics and all your logistics. That's what I would do. I'd start small and see how that works. Allow you time.
The problem with that is that parents then have to figure out a half day. If you do a full day off, then parents just go, okay, I need to figure out where my kid goes
Right,
for the
but
full
the
day.
half day would be
I
nice.
had a kid who did that.
It would match up with what our high school kids are doing.
So when we did do that half day, how often was that?
It was generally once a month.
So just because I had a kid in high school and a kid here at the time, it never lined up. It was never the same day.
Well,
And as a parent, I had to figure out 2 half days for the week, so.
But if we lined up with Kalispell Public Schools, if you lined up with them, and then you're not, like, we've got half in high school and half in elementary, it would line up, our schedule would line up. So we're not doing the half days at a different time, maybe it could get there at different time.
Only because.
Hey, Rob, I have a question real fast for Rob. When you talk to the other principals that are doing this, do they regret going to a 4-day at all?
Not at all.
Not at all.
I think their concern is with our timeline.
Okay.
And that's my only concern too. I want a 4-day week. I want to spend an extra day with my kids. I could go on and on. I want a 4-day week and I want to make that very clear. I want to do it right. I don't want to feel like we skipped steps and I don't want to feel like we didn't hear people that needed to be here. I hear what Teresa's saying. People did call in and whatnot. You know, let's schedule a couple things to check those boxes. Let's have some meetings where we can hash out like the concerns and lay it on the table.
So if I could make a suggestion, if the board does ask to postpone this, I would ask that we postpone the decision till next year. Just because at this point, we have to get our budget, our staff, what it's gonna look like down. We're running out of time and these teachers can't handle cramming every meeting with the calendar and the scheduling and all of that stuff. Even if we push it, even if we got a community meeting within the next 2 weeks, we're asking the teachers to just cram everything really super fast. As well as we have to figure out our restraints with the budget. I just want to make sure we're.
MEO question. What percentage of vote do you need? 50%, 51% to?
For negotiations?
Yeah.
For contract? I don't know. I have to look.
Because that was my question for Deb Silk and she never answered. I said, what if we present 4 days and they say no? Do we have to default back to?
I don't know.
I don't think it would fail. If it's 51%, I don't think it would fail, but if it's 2/3, we might be. Anyway, something to consider. Like if they could throw it back at us. I don't know.
And the only thing I was gonna say is because I was watching the board meeting today at Ulster Five's board meeting, they were talking about the Wednesdays. And next year it's gonna continue, but they're talking about the year after about making some changes. Just for food for thought.
Half day Wednesday creates its own unique set of challenges.
I hate it.
Especially when parents forget.
I hated having to figure out 2 half days for the week. I would rather figure out 1 full day and figure mine out.
I don't disagree.
It's easier to find childcare for 1 whole day than say, hey,
Well, or like in my situation, it's
Well,
it's
Marion,
easier
them
to
up,
have
mom and dad are at work.
a responsible child help care for the younger child on the same day.
Yeah.
But if they're opposite days, you're
Right.
Okay, do we want to table this then? And see what more info we can come up with? And try to answer all questions that are out there. Let our community know that this is what we're looking to do, our parents, and see what input we have. Any other suggestions?
How much time would you need to have a stakeholder meeting and a staff meeting? That covers. I can see the stakeholder meeting being 1 or 2 people that show up, but I want to offer it.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I was looking at. I'm looking at that going, we had 60 parents respond to the survey. That's like the most parents that
Ever.
responded to anything in the history of ever. It's like,
Half of what Bond was.
right.
Yes. So I'm saying thank you for your overwhelming support. The board is very interested in moving forward.
Right.
You know, here's what we're gonna go over, have a meeting and go over what it would look like. Here's a couple of scenarios with this and that, you know, comes like Q&A. Amy did Q&A, Trevor did stakeholder meetings. Like it's more of just making sure that they've had an opportunity beyond checking yes or no.
Right.
To ask those questions in a forum, I guess.
Right.
Can I say something?
Cindy Hansen.
Yeah.
Can I just suggest that if you are going to do that, maybe provide some of the information beforehand. That way people can think about it before they come to the meeting. That way they can see like what the options are. That way they can think like, I have a question about this, or I have a comment about this. That way it's not like they're giving it to them at the meeting and you're like, okay, any questions? And people are like, and then they go home that night and they're like, damn it, I should ask that question.
I agree, Cindy. And I asked Becky and Shannon put the meeting from Trevor online today. And so we can include any of these videos and these audios, like here we're having this meeting, here's some things we've already discussed. You know, if you want to go back and listen to them. I doubt people will, but given the opportunity, maybe they can go listen to Trevor and hear his speech.
Could you open it up at bingo?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Can we put it out at bingo this Friday, the calendar options, and then have a stakeholder meeting next Friday? So then maybe you guys can vote on it the following Monday. Otherwise, table it till next year because we have negotiations to do.
So I don't want to be the flat tire, I guess. I just the biggest upset that I'm hearing from teachers is that they want to have time to have their input, to be involved in planning and days, times, how long the year is, all of that stuff. And that's going to take a lot of time on top of negotiations for the staff. And that is a lot. Plus like Cindy said, in order for the parents to have input, they want to know what the options are. So first we'd have to get together with the staff, decide the options. What are the 2 options? Is it enough minutes? Does it work for both sides, elementary and then get to the parents? And then if that's enough, my concern is, I think we should do all of that if we're going to do that route. But I look at it and I panic, and I'm not teaching a class every single day and also have negotiations and 8th grade graduation and all those things coming up. So as an advocate for the people that work every single day, if we're gonna take the really involved route with, then give everyone the staff their due and the stakeholders their due, I think it's best to wait to where we're not such have to go at such a high speed that everyone is panicking and trying to get their curriculum in, plus all of this and negotiations. It makes me nervous, and I would just be doing paperwork.
I think we're already in high speed. Like talking about 2 meetings, a stakeholder meeting and followed up with a special board meeting. We don't need to wait until the next board meeting to vote on this. We could present it, say, give the minutes from this meeting. If you want to go back and look at them and see some of the comments and the concerns. I don't know. I hear what you're saying. Even that cuts into it a week or two or however long.
Shannon, in your opinion, how many of these moving parts have to go together for this to work? So plan negotiations, stars, all of that stuff has to kind of be fixed. and go
That's why I
together?
did 2 columns with and
Right.
without stars, so that you can see regardless if we use stars or not. But stars has to be decided soon, right? Separate from this, regardless, however this goes. It has,
Necessarily.
it gives us more money to be able to afford things. But regardless, we have to decide whether we're doing it or not.
So we could do a staff meeting where we loosely agree on, we want a longer school year, longer days, a very loose sort of thing, and then present that to the stakeholders with the understanding that the calendar specifics will have to come later. I just know as a parent, especially talking to like Cindy Hansen, they want to know specifics. So I guess we just have to be all in agreement if we were going to go forward with having a stakeholder meeting in a couple weeks, that we'd let the teachers know, like, this is basically what we're thinking, but more specifics will come later once it has been thoroughly planned out with the staff and all of that stuff. I just want to make sure we're all on the same, because to have 2 rock solid options that everyone feels like they've had input on is not possible in a couple weeks. But having something loose that they feel comfortable presenting loosely, possibly. I just don't want to speak for all of the staff in that, and make sure we all have the same expectation for the stakeholder, because I don't want somebody to be like, well, Julia, that's not what I meant. You know what I mean?
When somebody, I think it may have been Katie online or somebody, mentioned the staff voted, are they talking about the 17 people?
No.
At the meeting when
At
Trevor
the
was
meeting.
here.
Yeah, and then
Don't know if I would count that as an official vote, because I wasn't here.
Well, we sat in a meeting with everybody who was there and they raised their hands and there was like 2 that said, well, I have some concerns, but if this is what's best for the students, then I'm going to move forward with it. So that's when we all agreed that we were going to go forward. Now, we can't guarantee that all the staff is going to attend the meeting. That's not, I mean, if you don't attend a meeting, that's not on the people who are there. But you could have expressed your concerns beforehand and we could have gotten things out of there beforehand, before it's in a public thing where now we're at a total standstill. So that was the time to bring it up and to discuss it, and we can hash things out.
Well, as someone who said that they had concerns, basically the answer that I thought I got was that was looking for interest. And that's another reason why I was one of the 9 that didn't vote on the survey, because when I looked at it, I wasn't sure what I was voting for. I'm not opposed to looking at it, but am I signing up and saying, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to buy this used car no matter what? Or am I going to get some details at some point that say, oh yeah, I think I can do this, or no, I don't think I can do this, so I can actually.
Yeah, and as someone who stood in the hallway and talked to the 2 people that didn't agree with you, that weren't sure yet, I will tell you their concerns were along the lines of, will we have enough time in the course of 4 days, even though the time is extended, even though the year will be extended, to give the kids what they need? And that was a concern that what I brought up was, this is the time when, if we do decide to go forward with it, we need to find teachers in every single grade band that has a concern and pair them up so that they can see, this is what we've done. This is how I've incorporated this. This is how I make sure I get it all in. Because we're not the pilot program here. Many people have done it very successfully. So those resources are available for those concerns. So.
Well, and I think that some of us were kind of confused with that because I thought we were gonna get more information.
yes. Well, and I
I
think
thought we were gonna get more information. So just waiting. I didn't vote because I didn't know how to vote as a mom or as a teacher. So that was hard.
yeah.
And
I
then
agree. Yeah, I agree.
So I feel like even though all of that, I feel like we can now decide what we're gonna do. So obviously we want more staff input, we want an opportunity for community input, and I think we just need a timeline on when we want that done. Is it something we immediately want to try to get through for next school year? Or is it something that we need more time to go through? I'm willing to do either. It's just gonna be at quite a pace different of pace, excuse me.
I have a really quick question. So when you're talking a stakeholder parent meeting, what information, because as a parent, do you, if you didn't work here, would you know what period Naomi had PE and math and reading and stuff like this class schedule? I don't feel like parents really know that I have PE on Tuesdays. The kids tell them that, but you know what I mean? Like, do the parents now, do they care about what period their kids
No,
have what?
The main concern would probably be, when does my kid get on the bus?
Okay,
When does my kid get off the bus?
that's what I'm looking for, like, what information.
What's our school day look like? When are
Well, and we
going
have a
to
parent on Zoom, we could ask them.
start school? Well, Evelina is
Yep,
too.
yep,
We've got, when is the school year going to start and when's the school year going to
Right.
stop?
Right,
I think
That's what
those are the main.
That was the calendar
that's
that they
what
put out.
yeah, that's what I'm asking, so that there's not a whole lot of information.
We've had the calendar since Thursday.
It's on the,
No, it would be on attached, but before you released it, nobody else. seen it.
no, they're just dummy calendars, so she can figure out how many days we need to be in school.
Saying we've seen, but we haven't seen it, because, or I mean, like.
Emily?
There was a survey. So.
It was
No.
highly posted.
No, but it was also texted, I think.
It was texted, called, emailed,
It was sent
Um,
out through the.
newsletter,
campus.
and Facebook.
Yeah.
But that's okay, 'cause we're still gonna figure it out.
Let's get our timeline thing down right now instead of just continuing to kick our can in the circle there. So let's see if there's any more information out there. You teachers, you can fact find on your own with teachers that are in other schools to maybe help you understand more what your day might look like or your 4 days. Let's get some information out, maybe on bingo, if we could put some flyers out for people to answer questions or go online and answer some questions. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I
we did
don't know.
most
Do
of
we
our-
want to get like the mocked up calendars and bus schedules and whatever that I've already done
Right.
out to the parents?
Absolutely.
and-
That, to me, that's what the community needs to see. It doesn't need to all
But
be filled in.
it's still only, this is what it could look like.
And that, to me, that's enough. As a parent,
It's a sample of what,
it's like, yeah, we can
what
work
might
with that.
happen.
Okay.
And I would try to email or, as many of those as you
I can send it all to every parent by email.
Okay, good. Good.
And it could
Instead of-
come
And then I can
along.
send them a text and a phone call saying, check your email.
It could be as simple as the board has expressed interest in continuing to pursue the 4-day week for the 2025-26 school year.
You say that louder
Please.
into the.
Please see the attached minutes from the meeting, documents, just give them all the information, let them sort through it, and then have a meeting that they can Q&A. And from there, I feel like we've done our due diligence.
Okay.
And as far as the staff goes, the next available staff meeting, get them as much information as you can so that they're in the loop.
Shannon, did everybody get this information you gave us?
That's not a directive.
It's on, it's on the agenda. All the blue links take you to all of this stuff. So Evelina, it's on our school website. You go to the school board, the agenda's there. It was there Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, last week. You can click on everything and see all the documentation that we're looking at.
Not many people know that, so my recommendation is blast it.
The more they
Directly
know,
to them.
the more they
Yeah.
might
Oh, yeah.
understand.
I can do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're gonna change their support. I think the support's gonna stay. I think it's just, you're just gonna inform your community, you're gonna inform your staff, and then everybody's moving forward. We're doing this thing. That's just my take. I'm sorry, I'm kicking.
No,
kicking.
that's what we need is people to voice their opinions on
I
things.
have one more question.
Yes.
And this actually might get more feedback. Do we have to have an actual stakeholder meeting? or can we put in the message, please feel free to call the school if you have any questions or concerns. And then tell them, you know, we might send out another survey next week or something like that. I believe parents would be a lot more likely to just call us
Yeah,
and
because they
ask
don't want
us
to have to come to a meeting
instead of
because
coming to a meeting.
they don't
Or,
want to drag their
Probably get
kids to
more
a meeting.
response.
or I could create something like a Google form that allows them to submit their questions, so then I can
Perfect.
answer the question back, and then you guys have a copy of what questions were submitted
Yeah.
too, instead
that
of
would
just
be
a
good, too.
conversation.
Mhm.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Do you want to set a date for the next meeting now? And then Teresa can put that in there that our next board meeting to make a decision will be on such and such date, since it's going to be an unusual date.
Do you guys think a couple of weeks is good? Do you think-
It has to be. I mean, I don't think we can drag it out any longer.
Okay,
And I'm the one that was complaining about rushing, but in my opinion, we're just adding a step. We're just adding a step to cover some bases.
okay, we're covering bases.
I would suggest the week of the 28th to the 2nd to give people a chance to get through mass testing, Easter Sunday, have a couple days, and then they have that week to
Okay,
plan some things.
It's right here. So April 28th is Monday.
Do next staff meeting.
It was supposed to be Wednesday, but I got kicked off because Shannon's way more important to the staff than I am. I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah, they're doing the MEO meeting on Wednesday.
On Wednesday, so they asked me to move my staff meeting so they could have their meeting.
okay, so are we good? Tammy, are you good with the April 28th, Rob? Are you good with that
June
date?
17th.
You can.
Yeah, I'll
work
go
that
in.
before then, right?
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
Ready?
Hold on,
I'm
another
sorry.
question.
I'm president of MEL. What are we doing?
Did you ask her anything? Was she like, no, I didn't do that. Interesting.
Michelle.
Michelle.
Because I'm not here tomorrow.
A more official way would be a little bit.
I didn't know. They just,
They just said, can you be there?
yeah.
And then they came and said, can you move your staff meeting? And I was like, okay.
He said something on the chat and that's how it was decided, so.
Sorry.
Okay, so
Are you not,
Wednesday?
you're
Yeah.
not on?
No. Chat.
So I was gonna come Wednesday because I'm not here tomorrow.
Okay.
So I just told Michelle, I said, I need to come in because she was standing there, we were talking. I said, oh, talk about negotiations. And I said, well, I need to come present about stars. And she said, I will talk to the people. And I said, just don't do it on Tuesday because I'm not here. So then she came back a couple days later and said, okay, we're gonna move it to Wednesday. I said, okay.
Yes. And then she asked me the staff meeting.
If the 28th would be for what? For a stakeholder meeting or from us to have a board meeting to hear?
Please don't do it on a Monday.
Special board meeting.
Monday, I've missed 3 of my daughter's games already.
Okay.
Any other day, but Monday.
To Tuesday?
29th?
Yes.
Tuesday the 29th.
So special board meeting?
Yeah.
Nope, I can't do Wednesday, 29th.
You can't do the 29th?
What about the 30th?
I mean, I can, but it'd have to be at like 9:00 at night.
Okay,
Yeah.
the first?
That's a little.
I can only do 28, 29 or 30.
30? 30 good,
That's
Tammy?
the Wednesday.
You can vote by proxy too.
Yes. Yeah, I can do the 30th.
She can do the 30th.
Can you do 30th? Okay. 6 o'clock?
We do 5:30 for church night.
Yes. I think we can do 5:30, Cammy?
Can Sherry hear us?
She's not on anymore.
She left.
She works on Wednesdays.
She will probably zoom in or.
People can vote by proxy too, right? If they read the information and vote by proxy. So they turn in their vote based
Yeah, I
on.
know, but I don't know if we. I think
Even
we-
at 5:30, she's probably off work and can zoom in.
Yes, even if she's just on her phone. Okay. Now, she had to get back to the hospital, so, okay. So, C, considering the 4-day work week, the school day work week, we're going to,
Can I make a motion actually to make it more official?
we don't need we haven't had a motion on it yet. so-
I'm saying, can I make one? So,
Oh my gosh.
Oh, she's at a game. Hold on. Hold on. How do I mute this? What am I doing? Hold on. She wasn't to you. She's in a baseball game. Sorry.
talking,
That was hilarious.
if I made a motion, it would sound like this. I move to continue moving forward in exploration of the 4-day school week for 2025, 2026. And to, what's the word, convene? To have a special board meeting for a final vote on at
April 30th,
April 30th.
5:30.
In the meantime,
I hope you're not expecting me to type this out because I was typing an email to Sherry and I said, wait. Just see if she was available on the 30th.
She double
I
typed.
want them to be able to see the community that the board supports moving forward. And this is how we're going to do it. But that's all I'm trying to say. We are doing it forward. We'll make a final decision at a special board meeting in 2 weeks.
We're
of whether
going
or
to
not.
disseminate more information.
Well, in my notes, I already said that we're gonna postpone this for a special board meeting on April 30th. And it says Lily's asked to get a flyer in at bingo and send out pop-up information out to all the parents.
Okay.
Teresa's gonna get that done this week, and then we're gonna postpone this for a special board meeting on April
Okay.
30th.
Yeah.
Lily,
It's already in the meeting minutes.
Lily and Cami, are you guys okay with them using the language the board has expressed support to move forward?
Yes.
I think that's important. That shows a little bit more finality.
Mhm.
It's not, it's no longer information. Well,
Okay. Well, that one's gone.
there are more.
Well,
One more.
one more.
Teresa, that stuff you send out to the,
Says,
the
Wait.
parent,
This is not
can
part of
that
that. It
also
should be
go to
a-
the teacher?
okay,
We're just
So
gonna
see
back
what we're all
so
seeing
this
there?
one is for
Yeah.
E.
So they're seeing what we're doing.
Yeah,
And then
I
you
can send, yeah.
Voting, right?
Put a space.
Because they don't get to vote
That's what
twice.
I thought.
I'm not
Okay.
gonna actually send. Oh, it's not yet. I'm just gonna send out the.
The
Consideration
information.
of
Perfect.
having a board booth at the Marion Freedom Festival.
I know you're
Cami?
passionate about this.
Yes, I will make a motion to have a. board
We
meeting
don't
at
need to do the motion thing anymore.
Okay, so
I
what do you
guess.
want me to do?
We can discuss it first.
Do you want to just?
I say yes, let's
We've
do it.
always had one, so.
I just think it's really important for the school to be represented at the community events every
Okay.
year. Not just because we're asking for money, but because we care about our community, and I just think it's important for them to see us there.
Yeah, it's a good point.
How many times do you think I can say to Kalispell that they should have a booth at the festival before they listen to me? This is like the
Right.
17th time.
Don't worry, I wrote that girl's number down. Wonderful.
You should come. Yeah, yeah.
I think talk to their activities.
I think I'm gonna make a sign and put it in their window.
You did talk to the other day, Matt.
And the board and Matt and Will and.
Okay, so Cami?
Finish that motion.
So I make a motion for the board to have a booth at the Marion Freedom Festival.
I think
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Very good. That was easy one. Okay, so I guess we need to close the meeting for rights of privacy for a student. So. Thank you everyone for all your input. Oh,
You guys are the majority. The majority.
We'll send that out
We
once
don't
we
know
get
for
it.
sure yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Yeah, we'll make sure. I need to make the form thingy too.
Yes, I think so. Thank you.
I think I need to understand it.
Yeah.
My wife, today. Bottom.
Did this off then?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, those of you online, I'm going to mute you and turn off the, well, just mute you, because I can't turn off the recording, for student privacy. Thank you for coming, and if you'd like to stick around, you can, but when we return, we'll just be making a motion and then closing. Have a wonderful evening.
Not while we're in closed session. No.
Okay, we are officially recording again.
I move to accept the minutes from session.
Second.
You said she seconded?
No, I've been copying and pasting the motion, second, whatever, and the last thing I copied was something different.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No, okay, future agenda items. Do we have anything on there?
The special board meeting.
Yeah, that's a special board meeting. Do we have any information we need?
Next year or next month will be classified.
So
Staff.
classified will be dependent upon
Mm-hmm.
what we pick.
Yeah.
We can bring back.
Classified personnel.
Mm-hmm.
Can we have that pretty ironclad by the special board meeting on what that looks like? No.
No, not unless we lay down a perfect, because then I have to do sped and where those minutes are and who sees what and title, and it would be, whew, that'd be hard. Until we get an actual schedule, I won't be able to know. Does that make sense? And I don't want to tell someone they don't, if then I find out they do, or if they do and then they don't, that would be
When will
scary.
they know if they have a job or the job change?
Next board meeting.
Next board meeting.
May
In
meeting, May meeting, yeah.
So those people will know who they are.
And before the board meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as we know and we make the decision, I'm gonna let them know, and then it'll just be voted on in the board meeting, even if that's 2 weeks later or whatever it turns out to be. But I've let them all know we don't really know what's going on. We're gonna do our best, but until we get the calendar and like at least some idea of what it'll look like, it'll be really hard to do.
So going to 4-day, that may alter who.
If we go to 4-day, it makes us keep more people. If we go to 5-day, we have to.
And that's
Keep
important
less.
that we know that
Mhm.
with our decision.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, or maybe I haven't been listening.
4-day will need more people.
No.
Less
Budget wise, 4-day, we can afford to keep
More people.
everybody.
More support staff.
Just that little bit lower pay, like you said, 1,000 per year.
Right.
But if we
Unless-
accept the STARS Act,
Then it won't be.
I've been able to afford a $750 stipend to each of, which is in that spreadsheet.
Yep.
When you can see
It
the
is.
stipends.
Yeah.
Which will make up for all but
$200.
$250.
Oh, I did have, a few staff members ask me. Oh,
I
Okay.
move to adjourn.
Yes,
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay.